constraint. One of the key strategy used to get you under control is to put a constraint on you. And I don't need to actually put a physical constraint on you. I need you to perceive a constraint. If you look at the power of perception under the category understand, under Peoplelyzer, you will realize how easy it is to fool your own brain. How easy it is to get you to perceive something when actually the thing is fundamentally different. You just perceive it through your eyes, right? And the key point about putting constraint is to put a limit to you, to make you perceive a constraint so that you don't go out of this constraint. Let's take the image of a box. It's basically, if I was putting you inside a box, I put you inside a room, for instance, and the walls are totally artificial. The walls are not real, but you perceiving them as real. And as you are in the room, and let's imagine this room is pretty small, let's say 3 meter by 3 meter, you feel under constraint. You perceive a constraint of space, but the walls are actually not real at all. It's just a projection, an hologram, or whatever. It is exactly what's happening in life. It is exactly how they keep you under constraint, get you to follow orders, actions, behavior, by getting you to perceive constraints. So what are those constraints? You'd ask me. War, fear, terrorism, virus, debt, whatever works, whatever is necessary to implement as a constraint. CO2, for instance, carbon emission, is an excellent constraint. Can you see carbon dioxide around you? You can't. You even emit carbon dioxide, but you can't see it, right? You perceive it as a constraint, so you are actually restraining yourself from doing things. And that is the key point about the control. How a parent is putting constraint on a kid. Well, if you don't eat your dinner, the monster under your bed will visit you at night. Think about it. The example is extremely simple, extremely trivial. But what am I doing? I am putting a constraint on the kid. I'm getting the kid, the infant, to perceive a constraint which is in reality non-existent, so that he obeys. Now let's replace the monster by a virus, by a war, by a terrorist, by hunger, by shortage of electricity, by shortage of food, by global warming, by climate change. It's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same strategy. It's just that one is a trivial example of the monster under the bed. The other one, it's more global, more at scale, using not just the parents, but using the television, the mainstream media, the politician, whoever is replacing the parents in the real world. So putting you under constraint is a core strategy. And you will ask me, how do you implement the constraint? Good question. You will actually use shocks, create problem to be able to implement the constraint where you have the solution. 9/11 is an example, is a good example, for instance, right? How can I shoot myself in the foot? How can I create a shock big enough for getting people to be totally obedient in relation to security, in relation to global surveillance? There is a danger of terrorism, of people bombing anything around you. You have a perception of fear, because of the shock I have created, which is basically the destruction of these two towers, killing a massive amount of people. But that gets you in fear. And as you perceive fear, you will accept constraints. You will accept rules, regulation, orders that I will give you. So, yes, it's disgusting, it's nasty, it's inconceivable. Most of the people cannot imagine that they would go to that extent to put you under constraint, but it's working. The key point is it is working, it is efficient. It's really working very well, because the key point in this is that if I implement the constraint, the shock, fast enough, you do not have the time to think. And as you do not have the time to think, if I leverage fear, you will obey right away, basically. You will obey to whatever stupid order I will give you. The key point is that there's a lot of psychology at play. And this is the reason why I'm talking about constraint, but behind it's actually complex strategy about how your brain is reacting to things, to perception, to fear, and how you act. Unfortunately, you are at a disadvantage versus the people using this against you, because they know more about psychology, they know more about your brain, they know more how you work, they have more information on you than you actually have. And once you understand that, yeah, they are actually creating shock, creating problems, you are not walking into this trap anymore. Once the kid has understood that there's no monster under the bed, it's a fabrication of the parents to get him to eat his dinner at the table, then it's not working anymore. Then the parents need to find something else, right? You won't get present for Christmas, Santa will not visit you, and stuff like that. In a nutshell, we are still infants. We are still infants because we get fooled not by our parents, but by our civil servants, by people who wear a suit, by people who make sure that you believe into authority, the authority of your parents initially, the authority of school, the authority of the system, the authority of administration, the authority of the bank, of the boss, at the office, the authority of the executive, the director, whoever, the mayor, whatever, right? And you believe so much into authority that you become obedient, that you believe what they are telling you. They wear a suit, so they must be right. No, unfortunately, that's, again, a problem of perception. I don't need to wear a suit to talk to you, unfortunately. It would be nonsense. I don't need that. It's about being true. It's about telling what is true. So, strategy, constraint, creating the problem to the solution that they already control, monitor, own, and need to put in place to progress their own interest. Simple, right? And that is working. Thank you.